My bun is not doing bunny things today. There we go. I think my video cut off partway through yesterday because I lost Wi-Fi, but that's okay. Yeah, I know you're not coming. Okay. And when the sound of all the declarations of our sincerest intentions has died away on the wind, dance with me in the infinite pause before the next inhale of the breath breathing us into being, not feeling the emptiness from the outside or from within. Sometimes I think there are only two instructions we need to follow to develop and deepen our spiritual life. Slow down and let go. Doing both is necessary if we want to live with the sacred emptiness at the center of our being, that which can renew us and remind us to simply be all of who we are. Shirley's voice sounds very young to me on the phone, and she is 26. 3 years ago, while she was a university student, Shirley was in a car accident that left her quadriplegic, able to breathe on her own, all her mental facilities intact, but without feeling or movement from the neck down. After the injury, Shirley returned home to be taken care of by her mother, but a subsequent car accident a year later left her mother disabled. Shirley now lives in a rehabilitation hospital and visits her family on the weekends. I've agreed at her father's request to spend some time with her, if that is what Shirley wants. We chat for a while, and then I ask Shirley what she is hoping to receive from any time we might spend together. I don't want to mislead her about what I can offer. She has had enough disappointments in her young life. I know my dad is worried about me, but I think I'm doing pretty well. I just want to know why this happened to us, my accident and my mother's. Some people say that when things like this happen, there's something you're supposed to learn. I'm hoping you can tell me what it is. I tell her the truth. I can't even imagine what it has been like for you and your family. I've had some hard things happen in my life, so I understand why you want to find a reason for it all. I pause and slow down. I just don't think we can know why things like this happen. I think our task, and this is sometimes very difficult, is to live with it all, with all that is hard in our lives, without being able to know why it happens and still find a way to fully choose life every day. I pause. How does a 26-year-old who cannot find a way to live fully, who cannot move, find a way to live fully? I don't know the range of what she has loved and lost. Was she an athlete? Did she have a lover? Did she enjoy walking, hiking, dancing, cooking? Did she revel in touching and being touched? Feeling the sun on her skin or the warm water of a bath? She can't just put this behind her and move on. She can't move. She may never be able to move again. You don't believe everything happens for a reason. Shirley is clearly surprised. Well, I believe that everything is caused, but that's not the same thing as saying that everything happens for a reason. Let me give an example. I take a breath. When I was a little younger than you are right now, I was raped. The rape was caused by a combination of the choices I made and the choices the man made. Don't get me wrong, I'm not letting him off the hook. He was the one who chose to rape me. But I repeatedly ignored my situation when it told me I was in a dangerous situation. And I learned a lot from this horrible experience. I learned to trust my intuition and to act on it, even when others might think I'm overreacting. I learned about an inner strength I didn't know that I had. I learned how to live with an ache inside that took a long time to go away and still choose life. But do I think that these lessons were the reasons that the rape occurred? That some focus in the universe choreographed the rape so I could learn the lessons? No, I don't. Do you believe in God? Shirley's voice is non-judgmental and curious, no doubt baffled by anyone with such a new age sounding name. Does not hold one of the beliefs that is fundamental to many new age philosophies. Yes, I experience something larger than myself, what you call God and what I call the mystery, around and within me every day. And I experience his presence as powerful and loving. And to tell you the truth, if I thought that a powerful, loving presence had decided the way to teach me to appreciate my strength was to choreograph a rape in my life, I'd be pretty pissed off. Surely such a force, if it was arranging things, could find a way other than rape or paralysis to teach us. I don't think the best way to teach even reluctant students is to hit them over the head. I think we, as human beings, by our nature, want to learn how to live and love fully. So I feel pretty certain that a powerful, loving presence would find a way to teach us. If it were choreographing lessons with loving encouragement, not devastating tragedy. This doesn't mean we can't learn something from everything that happens. Just that those lessons are not necessarily a casual reason behind the events. So, I can hear Shirley mulling my words. Why do you think these things happen? Well, if you're talking about what causes any given thing to happen, we can usually trace it back to a combination of choices and physical conditions. Serious car accidents happen because we choose to build our communities and arrange our lives in such a way that necessitates moving very quickly from one place to another. And we choose to do this in vehicles we know won't withstand the inevitable collisions that occur when a number of factors combine. The weather is bad, or an animal jumps out onto the road, or a piece of metal or rubber wears out. And if these things are combined with someone's choice to drive when he or she is tired or upset or drunk or distracted, then there's an accident. We're human beings and we make mistakes. We don't anticipate consequences, or we do, but we think the risk is worth it because other things like profit or pleasure of the moment seem more important. But do you think that there's ever a bigger reason, a higher purpose? I don't know. I don't think we can know if there's a bigger reason, an intentional purpose that causes these things. I'm not saying we shouldn't consider the bigger meaning in the patterns of our lives if we can do that without blame or shame. Multiple car accidents in one family is a reason to pause and consider, what is going on here? There seems to be a pattern. I stop for a moment, reaching for a way to be clear. I do think that our own unconsciousness, the collective unconsciousness, and that which is larger than ourselves can speak to us in symbols. If in dreams, why not in the events of our lives? It was so hard to miss when Christopher Reeves had his riding accident. The man everyone knew as Superman, icon of American strength and goodness, symbol of heroic action, was paralyzed. And then we watched the human man, Christopher, deal with his paralysis and discovered a different kind of hero, one who cannot act, one who shows us courage not so much in doing but in being with what is. We can learn a great deal by seeing the meaning the events in our lives hold for us. I just think we need to be careful about jumping from the meaning we draw from the events to a claim that this is why these events occurred. Why? Why do we need to be careful? Why can't we just say, well, that's what happened. Christopher Reeve's accident happened because we all needed to learn about a different kind of hero. It would be easier than trying to live with not knowing. She's right. It would be easier. This is not a theoretical question for her. She has to find a way to live with limitations and difficulties that I cannot pretend to comprehend fully, because we can't know it to be true. And I think real healing that lets us hold ourselves and the injured parts of the world in our hearts, healing that teaches us how to live fully, comes from intimacy, from the ability to be with what is, no matter how hard. I know that having an explanation for why hard things happen would make them easier, but I just don't see how anyone can claim to really know why they happen. Shirley is quiet, and I suddenly have an image of the two of us standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss, the bottomless chasm of not knowing. I know what I'm telling her. I'm telling her that to live fully is to choose to live falling through the vast emptiness. When she speaks again, Shirley's voice is smaller, and I have to strain to hear her. And how do you live with that? One day at a time, I answered quietly, reaching out to feel the presence of that which is larger than myself holding me, asking for help and finding a way to be with the vastness of what I don't know while still choosing life. I pause. It's not easy. We're both quiet for a moment. I have a friend, Catherine, who years ago had a brain aneurysm burst. It left her mentally and physically handicapped, and it took the life she had away from her. She and I once talked about why this has happened to her, and she said to me, "We can't know why this happened. All we can do is make it count. So make it count, Oriah, make it count." I think what she meant was that we have to learn all we can from everything that happens in our lives and act on that learning and share what we learn with others by how we live. That's how we make everything that happens count. And it's an amazing testament to the human spirit, to who and what we really are, that a great deal of this time is exactly what people do. They go on and they learn from tragedy and they live with their hearts open to life again. Shirley and I talk for a while longer. I tell her that I would be happy to come sit with her, hear about her experience, and do some ceremony and meditation with her if this is what she wants. I tell her that I will leave it up to her to contact me if she would like to get together. It has been weeks since I spoke with Shirley, and I don't expect her to call, and that's okay. The purpose of our conversation was to be sure that she knew that what I could and could not offer her. There are lots of spiritual teachers and counselors that she can contact who will tell her that her paralysis is just one of the many things that had to happen to her in life to teach her what she needed to learn for her spiritual development. And maybe that will help her go on. Sometimes we all need to believe something we cannot know to be true just to continue, and some days the emptiness of not knowing is just too terrifying. The automatic human response to emptiness seems to be to try to fill it, or at least to reach out and grab something to hang on to as we plummet down through the void. When my elder son Brendan was born, he was placed on my belly and covered with a blanket. I held him there next to my skin until the umbilical cord stopped pulsing and was cut. After a while, the midwife laid him beside me on the bed to examine him to make sure the proper number of fingers and toes were all in the right places. It was a hot day in July and the room was warm, and he laid on a flannel blanket. But the second he laid down, he screamed and frantically flung out both arms, seeking something to hang on to. Physically alone for the first time, with only the warm air of the room touching most of his body, he was lost in a vast and unfamiliar emptiness. His tiny red fist reached up and grabbed the only thing in his vicinity, the midwife's long ponytail, and yanked it toward him with amazing strength, pulling her face close to him as if to say, "Don't leave me alone out here in this nothingness. I don't like it." This is what it's like for us sometimes in the emptiness. Terrifying. And we grab at what is available and pull it close to us. Hopefully, we have surrounded ourselves with people and places and ideas and practices that remind us that we belong, that we are always connected to that which sustains life. Otherwise, we're left grabbing for things that may lower our anxiety, but do so by removing us from ourselves and the world. Anesthesia anesthetizing our ability to feel pleasure as well as pain. Alcohol, drugs, food, emotional drama, overwork, the possibilities are endless. I do not face anything like the challenge in Shirley's young life. And yet I find myself at times unable or unwilling to simply be with that emptiness that holds my awareness of what I do not know, and much more. For me, the hardest time, the time when I reach to fill the emptiness, is in the evening. Sometimes, not always. When all the work that needs to be done is finished. When the computer has been shut down because I know trying to write more will be counterproductive. When the dishes have been washed and put away, and preparations for the next day are complete, but there is still an hour or two before sleep. Sometimes a tiny thread of anxiety seeps out from a small cold knot in my belly and travels down through my legs and up into my throat. It's not a specific worry, but thin, unnameable tension that makes me restless, unable or unwilling to simply sit still. So I decide to update my financial books, or I flip through the channels on the TV, busying my mind with work or things of stories I do not care about until I fall exhausted into sleep. What is it I fear in those dark, quiet hours of emptiness? what we all fear, all the unacknowledged grief and despair we might overwhelm us, all the unanswerable doubts and questions whose answers might challenge us to change how we live our lives. Knowledge of our own morality and brevity of our own precious life and vastness of what we do not know. What we forget is at the center of it all, there waits for us sacred emptiness, a spaciousness and a stillness that renews us and lets us remember who and what we are, that we cannot go around the ache, the grief or despair, doubt or hard knowledge that lies between us and the sacred center. We have to go through it, be with it if we are to find the vastness of the mystery. That we so often find ourselves aching for empty time, longing for a sense of spaciousness in our lives is a testament to our deep knowledge that living with awareness of this emptiness is a necessary part of living life fully. In the Native American teachings in which I have been trained, we begin our prayers by calling upon and coming into alignment with Wakan, the great-grandmother, the void, the nothingness, the sacred womb from which all things are birthed. Often I call upon the spirit of Wakan, asking to experience the spaciousness at the center of my being, my day. I sit in silence and use my imagination to connect with the vast space that is at the center of this very matter of which I am made. I taste the mystery of form that is emptiness that is form, and this opens me to the possibility of finding the pause at the end of the exhale, before the impulse to inhale, the quiet, empty spaciousness at the center of a busy day. To dance, to be who we really are, and live true to our soul's desires, we must return again and again to this sacred emptiness, because deep within we know, as T.S. Eliot wrote, that except for the point, the still point, there will be no dance. And there is only the dance. We must find a way, a practice that can take us to the emptiness and keep us there when we would run from what we fear it holds. Without this, our lives become not the graceful movement that dances awake who we are, but the stumbling sleepwalker, frantic running of those who are afraid because they have forgotten who and what they really are. A practice is a structured activity that offers us a way to consciously enter and be with the sacred emptiness at the center of our being. It is by definition done on a regular, preferably daily basis. The regularity is what makes it a practice. You do it whether you feel like it or not, and not feeling like it, resistance seems to be a pretty universal human response to doing anything on a regular basis, at least in Western culture. The structure is what makes the regularity possible. It gives us a way, a method, or an activity with a shape that does not depend on how we are feeling at the moment. While I've heard many who dismiss the use of a daily practice by claiming that their practice is to be awake and mindful in all their daily activities, I have yet to meet anyone who can do this. As human beings, we have the capacity to be fully present in every moment, but what we have not done each day for 1 hour, we are unlikely to be able to do for the remaining 23. We want to postgraduate work while we are still in kindergarten. My practice includes a daily meditation on the 22 prayers of the sacred pipe ceremony I was taught many years ago. Without this structure, I would have days when my impatience and reluctance to consciously meet and connect with all aspects of the seen and unseen world would reduce this ceremony to 1 or 2 quick prayers. My practice also includes silent meditation and writing, both done for set periods of time. These practices are done simply. A mindfulness meditation on the breath and being with what is around and within me, and writing whatever comes by keeping the hand that holds the pen moving on the page. For both, the time commitment provides me with a container, a simple structure that keeps me there with the fear or discomfort of meeting myself in the stillness. It would give me an ample excuses to go do something else. At the heart of any effective practice, whether it is explicitly spiritual, inherently creative, or rigorously physical, is a structure that clears and holds open a space and time for slowing down and letting go. Letting go necessitates being with the fear that comes when we become aware that all we love in the world, our very life itself, is impermanent. It can bring tremendous relief and rest to those to let go where we are trying to hold on, trying to keep the same things which by their very nature are constantly changing. This does not mean loving life and the world any less fiercely. Loving well and living fully are not the same as holding on. But we cannot become conscious of where we are holding on, where we need to let go, without slowing down. While it may be possible theoretically to run through our day doing 100 tasks while maintaining an inner sense of spacious calm, this once again sounds like a premature postgraduate work to me. I need to slow down. We survive by becoming entrained to the speed around us, by coming into alignment with the world that we live in. And we live in a fast world. If we want to create a world that is not perpetually speeding up, families and workspaces and communities that support people in slowing down every day in order to stay in touch with and care for themselves in the world, we have to slow down. As Gandhi said, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. You cannot speed up your efforts to create a life that is slower paced any more than you can successfully fight for peace. When we avoid emptiness, we fill the stillness with too much doing. We are often trying to outrun our sometimes unconscious conviction that who we are will never be enough. The things we try to hang on to, our work, our relationships, our reputation and perspective, are the things we believe will make us worthy of life and love, even though we fear we are basically and inherently flawed. If we can simply be with the fear that we are not enough, in the vastness of what we do not know, we discover an emptiness. That is not our failure, but is the very source of the fullness of who and what we are. We discover that who we really are, compassionate, gentle beings capable of being with every moment, has always been enough. Simple but not easy. Easier if done gently over time and with others. I did prayers and meditations of my practice regularly, but not daily, for over 10 years, by myself and within community before they truly became an integral and accepted part of my time alone each day. And even now there are days, like the day Shirley and I spoke of her accident, when I want to be more than I am, offer more than I have. Days when being with the emptiness of all I do not know is hard. I choose to stay with the emptiness of not knowing why Shirley is paralyzed, why I was raped, or why Catherine had a brain aneurysm. And Shirley, knowing this, surprises me and calls weeks after our initial conversation. She tells me she has thought about what I said and wants me to come visit her. I'm awed by her courage and stunned by this fierce compassion, this ability to open our hearts to ourselves and the world and be with what is. That gives her the strength to choose to be with what is hard and still choose life. This is who we are, and it is enough. I'll go and be with her, two women sharing our stories with each other. And if we find a moment when our capacity to truly be together is realized, perhaps we'll sit in silence, in the vastness of all we do not know, and find together the sacred emptiness that holds us. This is what I want, to be who and what we really are with each other and to dance together. Don't say yes, just take my hand and dance with me. Thanks for coming.